Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all. The United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, but yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success.
We both believe very much that education should be tailored to communities, that parents should have involvement, that local superintendents are the ones working with our teachers with full transparency of what education curriculum should be.
The department's useful functions, such as Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs, will be preserved. We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and we want to have our children well educated. We want them to love going to school.
You know, I've been asked why in the world I would want to be the secretary of a department that is going to be done away with, and I'm actually firing myself.
Pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person, and hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda, you're presiding over something that's so important, and you're going to do a fantastic job, just like you have your whole life. She's had nothing but success. So hopefully you won't be there too long, but we're going to find something else for you, Linda, okay?
We both believe very much that education should be tailored to communities, that parents should have involvement, that local superintendents are the ones working with our teachers with full transparency of what education curriculum should be. The president signed an executive order to shut down the Department of Education and have me be the last secretary of the Department of Education. The president made very clear that Pell Grants, funding for students with special needs, all of those will continue. But he does believe that we'll be able to operate more efficiently by governors and state departments of education, and superintendents and parents can certainly have more input into the education of their students. I believe that as well.
Yeah, I do too. It's hard to argue.
One of the other things that families have to deal.
Just pause this for a second, but it is very
I've
hard.
been asked why in the world I would want to be the secretary of.
Sorry.
One of the other things that families have to deal with is their
the Department of Education. It's very, very fitting. I think it's very good that the last person to run the Department of Education will be the former WWF owner, Linda McMahon, partial owner, whatever you want to say, owner by marriage, however you want to label it. Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon's wife, has done some great things in 2017, technically. She was the she worked in the Trump's first administration. And she worked with the small businesses. And I think after 2 years she left. She didn't stay for the whole 4 years of President Trump's first term. And so to see her here now, to see her back in action, because obviously when people leave and they say they got to go and spend time with their family, you kind of wonder what is the real story here. But in this case, you know, Linda McMahon does make me it makes me happy to see her here. And yeah, if anyone is going to be here to shut this thing down, just like they shut down WCW, shut it all down, Linda McMahon is here to do a great job. And it's not like they don't care about education. They gave the Department of Education a chance. It did not work. It did not help. It did not do anything. And there's no reason why the federal government really should be involved at that level in the state's decisions for what they do with the state schools. I still believe there should be some, and I believe there will be some form of Department of Education. And from what President Trump has said, some of that's going to morph into other areas. The HHS, the Health and Human Services, they're going to absorb a lot of what we would normally see going into the Department of Education. the Ministry of Education. It's so 1984ish that it's great to see it at this point where it is all being taken out, being taken down, and being changed for the better, I believe, for the better. So this next clip that I have here, this is a good one. And this all has to do with our cell phones and children, but the conversation here is very, very good. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. 2 minutes here.
One of the other things that families have to deal with is their kids and their cell phones. And I know that you have met with Governor Youngkin. I think he's been talking about a program that he started essentially by executive order, getting rid of all the cell phones out of the possession of kids between kindergarten and grade 12. Why is that a good idea for the whole country?
School, right? When they're at school,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
There are many other countries in the world that have banned cell phones in our schools. There's now 19 states with these restrictions. I applaud Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, and I asked him to take me out to one of the schools that was the first one to adopt his executive order, which was the Louisa County High School. And that school is one of the top performing schools in the state. I think it is the top performing school in the state. And I wanted to talk to parents and students and the teachers about what they felt about the cell phone ban. And I was shocked by how supportive they were, particularly the students.
Mm-hmm.
I polled students in a bunch of classrooms and in the cafeteria, and only one of them said he didn't like the ban. The other one said that it helped them increase their socialization, and it helped them do better homework. And the parents were very happy because the discipline of not having a cell phone at school also meant that it was easier to teach your kids not to use it when they were driving their car and to do their homework at home without referencing their cell phones all the time. A cell phone use and social media use on the cell phone has been directly connected with depression, with poor performance in schools, with suicidal
I
ideation.
just want to go back a little bit.
With substance abuse.
What he said there. That a lot of the kids understand this too. Children are a lot wiser than we might think. They understand it. It's just, well, if the parents are okay with it, then we'll be okay with it, and it must be okay. But now that we're seeing something different with the department, with the Health and Human Services, under RFK Jr.'s leadership, we are seeing what would mostly be a lot of common sense to a lot of parents, to a lot of families, to say, yeah, cell phones, yeah, you don't want cell phones in schools. RFK Jr. in some other clips will talk about you do not want your cell phone put up to your face. You don't want it right up here in your face. The radiation. Now they're putting it on their wrists now. They got these wristwatches that are pretty much phones there, and they're radiating. They're radiating those wrists. So who knows what the long-term damage. And then it's going to be very difficult to prove that it is tied to the issues that they may have. But the rise in tumors and cancers and everything, how do we not at least look at it and say, whoa, is this tied to the radiation, to this just having the cell phone just next to me, not even to my ear or anything, but next to me? Is all of this radiation that is going here, even the radiation that is here while I'm doing this live stream, is all of that just creating tumors? Are we slow killing each other? And is this a slow kill? And that's why wires I believe are always gonna be better. They're bad too, but that's why they, back in our day, when you had the dishes and you had all that, you had them in a certain corner, you had them somewhere else, then you had a long wire going out to a certain place. Now it's beaming directly to us. And you have to imagine, you got to, at least we have to be open, and we got to think about that. What are the studies? Let's do some studies on this to show how bad that radiation that is just being beamed directly into us. And how do we get away from this Wi-Fi and start just plugging back in? We want to unplug from the matrix, but you know what? Maybe we need at some level to plug back in. It may be a lot safer. And there's a lot of things that we can do. And it's a big It's a big deal. It's a big issue, but we got to start somewhere. I'm not saying RFK Jr. is going to come in and change everything and make the whole country and the whole world healthy once again. But what Elon Musk is doing, cutting the finance, looking at that, RFK Jr. is doing with our health. Very, very similar. And you could see it all over wherever Trump has put people in power to figure these things out, to give him the best advice possible. And so this is why I absolutely love what I'm hearing from RFK Jr. here. RFK Jr. on the importance of cell phone free schools. It's very important. And all you have to do is put scramblers in there, put blockers in there so the phones won't work. And then boom. That's a start. If they're going to put cameras in the schools, they could put scramblers in there too, and make sure that the cell towers are not close enough to schools, so that people, even if they try to sneak in those phones and everything and try to do some Wi-Fi stuff, it will not work. But it's going to require a change, a big, drastic change, but not as drastic as a lot of the other things that RFK Jr. is tackling. He's tackling a lot of issues that have been going on before the digital era. So to tackle issues within the digital era, look to Elon Musk, look to some of these other tech geniuses, and we can find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
It's the other countries that have done this. The states that are doing this have found that it is a much healthier environment when kids are not using cell phones at schools.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, this one, before I get started on this one, I had no idea what this was. Secretary Kennedy celebrates World Down Syndrome Day. Did anybody, other people know this was a thing? This was a big thing? I've never heard of this before. And I watched the video, and you have to remember, there's a couple different channels. So if you really want to follow RFK Jr., you got to follow the Secretary Kennedy X profile. Follow that one. Then you also want to make sure that you're subscribed to the Robert F. Kennedy one at Robert Kennedy Jr. And then you also want to make sure that you are following the HHS Gov, the at HHS Gov official page, because all three of those are all going to intermingle. They're going to post a lot of the same content. But if you really want to stay up to date with everything that RFK Jr. is doing, there's 3 different pages that you want to follow on X. So this is some of his latest stuff on X. I'm just going to skip down here because I had no idea what this was. Happy World Down Syndrome Day. It was a joy to spend time with so many wonderful children and families who came to HHS Gov to visit Cheryl Hines and me. Your strength, love, and joy are truly inspiring. And Down syndrome, for anyone who has children or anyone who just loves children, this is a big, big deal to see our children like this and what is going on, what causes children to be like this. And you look at them and they all kind of have the same face, right? These are beautiful children, beautiful kids, but they all kind of have that same face. Like, what is causing this stuff? And I think it's definitely something that we need to look into. We need to look further into. We have got to be prepared. And it's just a fascinating thing to see that RFK Jr. is tackling one of these things and getting no media press coverage at all, right? They're not really focused on something like this. And I didn't even know about this. If it wasn't for RFK Jr., I probably would have never even known what World Down Syndrome Day is. So with that said, I'm gonna play this 1 minute 27 second clip that it made me cry. It made me cry, and it still makes me cry because it's so sad to see these children. These are beautiful children. How does this happen? And to think that somebody may try to encourage you to kill one of these children because they have Down syndrome, and to say, well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a parent to that. Just kill that baby. Just abort them. These are beautiful children. These are God's children here, and every life is precious. And so it just goes, when you look at all these things with our children. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling here. I just, it's so powerful to me. This is a very powerful message. It speaks for itself. It's much better than anything that I could say on this topic.
Okay, let's bring this meeting to order. Today is World Down Syndrome Day. I'm Robert F. Kennedy. I am the Secretary of Health and Human Services. This is my wife, Cheryl Hines.
We're celebrating with our beautiful kids and their parents. I just met Amir.
We love these kids. They're incredibly adorable and precious.
I love him. He's adorable. I am so grateful and amazed that he took time out of his busy schedule to spend time with these children and to show that they really matter.
These children are such a joy. They bring so much to your lives. They enrich your lives in so many ways.
To the pregnant mothers expecting a child with Down syndrome, I would just say you're in store for an incredible journey.
Just don't be afraid. It's a life full of just unexpected joys.
This administration really is behind individuals with disabilities and families, and really, I think, understands some of the struggles that we have and the supports that we need.
Our job here at HHS is to make sure that these kids fulfill their entire potential. They're supported by incredible families, and we want to support them.
We're celebrating World Down Syndrome Day with our friends.
That's beautiful. It really is a beautiful message, a very powerful message. But again, it makes you wonder, like, how do they get here? How do these children get to this point, and why do they all look the same? What causes this? How can we stop it? So when they do a what do you call it, a World Down Syndrome Day, to let people know, and to let them know you're not the only ones here. And these are still beautiful children. These are still children that can live prosperous, healthy lives. Their life expectancy and what causes it, I believe we really need to continue to focus on that. And some of these parents, I mean, it's a tough job. And I give so much credit to all of these parents who are able to stick it out, to not kill their kids, and to say, you know what, this is my child, this is my baby, and to just go with it. It breaks my heart, it's just, but it's so powerful. And so anyways, that was really the main thing I really wanted to cover here today, because it touches my heart so much. But it does make me think of why does this happen? Why are they like this? And what can we do? What can we do to help them to figure this thing out, to figure out whatever is going on with these children? How do we do something about it? I don't know. I don't know what to do, but I know we got to do something. I'm so glad that we have Kennedy here to do something to help these children, and so many people that are involved in this. And it's a tough road. If you know anybody who has a child with Down syndrome, a parent, that's a tough job. It's tough to be just a parent who doesn't have a child with Down syndrome. To have one that does, there's a special place in God's heart, and I feel for these parents, and I want to pray for these parents, and it's just so. Just children, they're just beautiful. They're beautiful children. And their life expectancy is not that great. They don't live a long, healthy life, as far as I know. But they are all God's children, just like us. So anyways, the sadness is always going to be there. But I would like to try to figure out what is going on with them, and how can we make this thing better. I don't know, folks. I don't know what to do, but this is where we are today. So it's all a part of making America healthy again, all a part of focusing on our children and what can we do to help our children. These children need help today. And what are we going to do about it? It's a never-ending battle for sure. So, with that said, and speaking of children, here's another great one that I found on X, and I re-uploaded, whoops, onto YouTube because people definitely want to see it. I'm sure they want to see it. I'd be surprised if you did not want to see this. Come on. So I'm going to share this here. Let's make this full screen. RFK Jr. on baby formula awareness. Operation Stork Speed, which is cool. It's a kind of a play off of Operation Warp Speed, obviously. But this is something that's going to be very, very good. All right, let me play a little bit of this.
Hi, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. As Secretary of Health and Human Services. One of the agencies that I oversee is the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA is responsible for making sure that the food and medicine that Americans put into their body is safe. That's important for everyone, but especially for our children, because they're the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable of all are our babies. If there's one food that must be safe beyond any doubt, it's infant formula. Mothers who cannot or choose not to breastfeed need to have absolute confidence that their infant formula is ideal for their babies and have many options to choose from. Parents and others who rely on infant formula should know what's in these products and how consuming them may impact their child's health. That's why I'm directing the FDA to launch Operation Stork Speed. Amongst many things, it will study infant formula to inform updates in federal guidelines. Let me tell you why we're doing this. You see, the science of human nutrition has progressed since current guidelines were put in place in 1998. So we're going to evaluate all the common ingredients from corn syrup solids to seed oils and make sure that they meet the needs of our little ones. Some things we know are bad, like heavy metals. So we're going to increase the frequency of testing to make sure that no child drinks contaminated formula. I met with the CEOs of all the top infant formula manufacturers a couple of days ago, and they're united in support of this initiative. They are ready to make whatever changes are needed based upon the current evidence, because no one wants our children to be sick. We all want our children to grow and flourish from the moment they're born. Make America Healthy Again is something that can unite all Americans. And that's what Operation Stork Speed is all about. We're going to make American infant formula the gold standard for the world.
That's amazing. Operation Stork Speed.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
That's beautiful.
We told them that we wanted the dyes out of
Yeah, all right, let me play it.
We told them that we wanted the dyes out of the food. The science on the dyes is so overwhelming. They're making products now in this country that have the dyes in them, like Fruit Loops, for example. And you buy the same product in Canada and it doesn't have the dyes. You buy the same product in Europe and it doesn't have the dyes. One of the things that we're doing is we've launched a review of the GRAS standards, and we're going to get rid of the GRAS standards for most products. It was adopted because when FDA was created to regulate food, there were foods that were generally recognized as safe, GRAS, generally recognized as safe, like flour, like dairy, like eggs. And they didn't want to make companies test those products, so they created that designation. But that designation was expanded by an industry that began taking advantage of it, so that any new chemical that they want to add to our food is generally recognized as safe and gets no review. That's why we have 10,000 ingredients in our food in this country. In Europe, they only have 400. And we have the worst chronic disease burden of any country in the world. So we are going to get rid of the GRAS standards for new products. We're going to go back and review all of these old ingredients to make sure that they are safe. And we're going to encourage these companies to get rid of them as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, how is that possible?
Thank you very much.
that we
for
have
being here.
some of the worst. I mean, we're supposed to be the greatest country on God's green earth, and here we are with some of the worst possible uh, just I don't know. We're so unhealthy in this country, and that's changing. It's changing. It's going to change little by little, but it is definitely changing, and I'm happy to see that change. I don't know if I have anything else, or if that is where we can end this one here. That just we could play. I can look at a few more things. There's really not too much else going on. Kennedy. Let's go back. There we go. Kennedy is now, this is the Secretary Kennedy, got to call him Secretary. Great meeting with Speaker Johnson today. We are both ready to MAHA, to make America great again. This is another great one. Kennedy is, today's cabinet meeting, this is from the cabinet meeting, was productive and focused on advancing the Trump administration's top priorities, including cutting redundancies and streamlining HHS. Under the Biden administration, HHS budget grew by 38% and staffing increased by 17%, yet public health outcomes declined. We're committed to restoring our health agencies to their gold standard, tradition of evidence-based science, through greater efficiency and accountability. Thank you, POTUS, for your leadership as we make America healthy again. This is another interesting one here that Kennedy posted, and I completely agree with. I don't like all the Jew bashing and the Jews did everything. Jews did 9/11. The Jews killed everyone, pretty much. They give the Jews way too much credit, I believe. Here's what Kennedy said on March 24th, 2025. Instead of inspiring universal condemnation, the October 7th Holocaust triggered a global wave of anti-Semitism. Ivy League campuses became a greenhouse for poison. President Trump has ordered his cabinet to use every constitutional tool to uproot this divisive weed. I'm glad Columbia has agreed to this first step and will begin to restore itself as a garden of tolerance, reason, compassion, and respect. Whew, very powerful. Powerful message there. See if there's anything else. HHS.gov is fully prepared to take on the responsibility of supporting individuals with special needs and overseeing nutrition programs that were run by USEDGOV. We are committed to ensuring every American has access to the resources they need to thrive. We will make the care of our most vulnerable citizens our highest national priority. Together, we will make America healthy again. Very cool. There it is. USED.gov. So that is the United States Department of Education. So again, Kennedy, his department, the HHS, is going to swallow a lot of the bad people, a lot of the bad things that were being done in the Department of Education. One of the main things, a big thing, and again, Rick, I know you're just joining me here. I hope you're feeling better, my friend, but this Down syndrome thing really bothers me, and it has bothered me for so long. And these are beautiful kids. There was I forget what the TV show, but there was a character named Corky, and Corky, he had Down syndrome, and I didn't really notice anything. And then in my school, you had people who had Down syndrome. Why do they all look the same? Why do they all have that same face? Like, what is causing this? And I really think that we finally now have somebody, what is this called, a duty war zone? We finally now have Kennedy here who is going to really try to figure out what is causing this. What are causing so many health problems that we have? The autism. What is causing the chronic diseases? What is causing all this stuff? And it really is about, you already know this, Rick, it has a lot to do with our food. It has a lot to do with what we put into our bodies. And a lot of it seems like common sense, but I think a lot of people just don't know. A lot of parents just don't know. A lot of people just don't know how bad this stuff is that we're putting into our bodies. And they don't look at the in ingredients. They figure, well, why would they poison us? Why would they do this to us? And it's a fair, valid question that I think really needs to be answered a little bit more. What made you think of this topic? But what sparked it? It was really Kennedy posted. He posted the video. I don't know if you knew this, Rick, but apparently, let me see if I can go back to it here. Am I still on? Yeah. So apparently, I guess March 21st was World Down Syndrome Day. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea that it was World Down Syndrome Day. And I watched this video, this 1 minute, minute 30-second clip of Kennedy here with these kids with Down syndrome. And it just reminds me why I love Kennedy so much, why he's such a great person. And it also reminds me that these are children. These are children that on some level have been attacked. I don't know what is going on with them, but these are beautiful children who have just been hit with some of the worst things. I mean, people who go after children, or if anything harmful reaches these children, this is a big, big problem here. So, anyways, I don't know if that answers the question or if I misunderstood the question, but that is what really inspired me, because that triggered some of my own past dealings with kids with Down syndrome, and seeing them and watching them and kind of being, as a young kid, I was kind of scared of some of these kids. Not the kids in this video here, they weren't like that, but there are some that really have they don't have control over themselves, or they just, they're just, they're not as stable as some of these kids that we see here. And maybe these kids are like that too. And these are just good days or whatever. The medication keeps them sane or keeps them on a good point. I really don't know. It's just so sad to see kids like this. To see, even if it was just happening to grown people, that would be crazy. But the fact that this is happening to children, and that this is one of the reasons why some people think it's okay to murder your baby before it's born, because it may have Down syndrome. You could go, if your wife is pregnant, she goes to a doctor and they look at the baby and they try to, say, what is it going to be like? They try to predict the future. This is why we didn't do any of that stuff. So whatever God's plan is, we're going to go with it. Some people go to these doctors and they trust them so much, and the doctors are trained in a certain way, and they think, hey, your baby may have autism. Maybe we should kill it. Obviously, they're not going to say it that bluntly, but that's pretty much what they're saying. Your baby is going to have Down syndrome. Do you still want to have this baby? Like, they give them the option. Do you want to have it, or do you want to kill it? And so seeing that for so many years, and having a special part in my heart personally, from having dealt with that, is it just really, this video, when I watched this 1.5 minute video, man, I was crying. I was crying. It really, it broke me down. Not too many things can break me down at my my stubborn self at this stubborn age, but it did. It really broke me down, and it reminded me how precious life is, and how every life is special. Every life is a gift from God, and life is not ours to take. And it's sad that some people want to give you a choice. Well, you could kill it. It doesn't have to be like this. They could be crippled for their whole life. Well, you can just kill it. Just kill them. Then, you can go on with your life and do whatever you want with it. It's just a very sad thing that is happening in this world. There's definitely a war on our health going on. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's in Canada too. And Rick and I are from two different countries, and there's probably a lot of people that would love for us to USA, Canada, USA, Canada, and it's just all about people, obviously. And even though Trump may say some things that you obviously is going to put USA first, that's his job. But he has also made it very clear that he just doesn't want to see people dying. That's why he doesn't take a position in the Russian versus Ukrainian war. And he loves the Canadian people too. And that's why I think he feels like it would be best for them to be part of the 51st state, to become the 51st state of the United States. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I believe we get a lot better wrestling. We get a lot better health products. There would be a lot of benefits to Canada becoming the 51st states. I don't believe Canada wants that. But I think Trump is playing this in game. He's not just saying that because he's just saying it. He's saying it to try to get Canada to make Canada great again. So once Trump says something, Canada kind of puffs up instead of being so lax, instead of just being, just kind of, well, we'll just go with the New World Order plan. And Trump says, let's make Canada the 51st state. Now Canada's like, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, we are, we're a proud people here. We are our own country. We don't want to be part of this. And that's good because that's Canada fighting globalism. And maybe that's what Trump wants, is for Canada to stand up to globalism the way that the USA is trying to stand up to globalism. So maybe that's what happened. And Trudeau is like, the globalism agenda that I was supposed to be rah-rahing, it's just not going to work now. Because you have either nationalism or we're going to go with the USA. Well, I don't know. It's all a happenstance. Who really knows? But it creates great conversation, and hopefully it does make Canada feel more proud about their country, about their sovereignty, because their sovereignty, if Canada did want to become their own country, they'd have to break away from the Queen. Maybe that's Trump's goal right now. Let's get them to break away from the Queen first, or from the King now, I guess, right? From the British rule, the British Empire, and to become a democracy or a republic, not a monarchy, which is what I believe Canada is. So if they can break away from that, I think that's a great thing. But Canada doesn't have to worry about the USA taking over Canada, because Canada is already press. They're already run by another country. And all Trump is doing is saying, instead of being run by the British, why not be run by us? And hopefully the Canadians will stand up and say, no, we want to do our own thing. I think that's what will happen. By the King. Thank you. Yep, by the King. Yeah. I'm so used to it just being the Queen for so many years. But, sometimes a king can be queen. There was a great band named Queen, and that dude was not a king. He was a king because he was a man, but he was a queen too. Interesting facts. Irrelevant points that I'm making here, obviously, on this late night, but still fun. Oh, this is one that I did want to share because I have not seen this clip. I have not watched this yet. Let me see if I can make this bigger. This looks good. And let me give a little background before I play. It's only a 1 minute clip. So this was posted on March 19th. Today, Secretary Kennedy visited the Great Mount Vernon Community Head Start in Gum Springs, VA, Virginia, I believe. Nutrition services have been a hallmark of the Head Start program since its inception. HHS is excited to continue to build on this legacy. Healthy eating is critical for children's brain development, immune health, and overall growth. Yeah, and for us, it probably seems like common sense. But for so long, the powers that be have just let this thing go. And that's not the case with Trump. It just isn't. Maybe in his first term, you would say, yeah, Trump just did everything. He just did the same old thing. But that's not the case in the second term. The second term is definitely different. Yeah, Queen, great band, man. Some great songs. What is that album, Rick? Oh, that's gonna bother me now. because I had it and I listened to it because I had the record with the robot dude in there. Man, it's gonna bother me if I don't find this. It's gonna put in Queen album, and every song was great. Every song was great. What are the albums called? It's something of the world. That's all I remember. You're probably kicking yourself because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Come on, show me that one. Can't find it. Can't believe I can't find it. Impossible. Let me just put in Queen's greatest album. That'll come up. Queen's greatest album. People of the world. Come on. What is it? It's going to bother me so much. I can't remember it. I feel so bad I can't remember it. Everything is greatest hits, greatest hits, greatest hits. Okay, we know the greatest hits, but album by album, that's what you want. News of the world, right? News of the world. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it. Top 10 Queen albums, the game, the reckon, the Queen. Really? Those News of the world. That's exactly what it is. News of the world. I listened to that whole album, to the whole record. Every song was awesome. Every song was great. So some great albums, some great times there. But you know, kings, queens, whatever you want to call them. News. Yeah, thank you. It was the news of the world. I know it was right off the tip of my tongue. And of course, hopefully me and Rick will be able to do more talks about music because he loves music just like I do too. And we also love children. You know, we also love people. We want to help people and we want to make sure that people are healthy as much as possible. And one of the greatest things that you can do to make sure that people are healthy is to do exactly what Kennedy is doing, to do exactly what Rick does on his weekly radio shows and YouTube shows too. Is let's talk about healthy living, you know, living healthy, getting rid of all of these pesticides and all of this garbage and this junk, and just living off the land, putting your feet and your hands in the dirt, in the soil, in God's green earth. It's nothing like it. So here we go. Secretary Kennedy visits a Head Start center.
I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and today we're in Gum Springs Head Start Center. I had a very inspiring tour, very devoted, committed staff, and a lot of happy children. They're getting the kind of education and socialization that they need. They're also getting a couple of meals a day. And we had the pleasure of looking at a community garden here on the campus where the students grow some of their own food. But one of the most inspiring things that I saw was a teacher teaching the children what foods are good and what foods are bad. And that is the kind of knowledge that the kids are going to bring home to their family, to their parents. And it's one of the key steps in making America healthy again.
That's right. Now, Rick, you probably grew up in the same era, a similar era, with the 5 basic food groups, right? So we were kind of taught that too, that food, you know, there's good food and stick to real food, stick to natural food. When do we get away from the 5 basic food groups? I don't know when that happened. I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this here. And hey, Rick, let me ask you this, man. Are there any good songs about natural foods that you can think of? I don't know if that would be an interesting topic for us to cover in one of our future shows here. But what are the top 5 songs? There better be some good songs out there about eating healthy food. I don't know if I can name one. That's kind of sad. I may have to write one. We may have to collaborate on one just to make sure there's 1 or 2 out there. So let me play a little bit of this. Yeah, the food pyramid, man, that was something else. The 5 basic food groups. And I don't know if you've ever watched South Park or not, where There's one episode in South Park where they were having issues with the 5 basic food groups, with the pyramid. He said, "Oh, just flip it over, flip it over." All of a sudden, problem solved. Everything is good. Anyways, way off topic. I want to play a little bit of this because this is we're gonna hear Linda McMahon and RFK Jr. talking about health. I'm gonna play a little bit of this, and me and Rick are gonna go and look for any songs that we can find about health. I don't know if are there any songs that even mention health food or anything like that, eating healthy, a healthy lifestyle. It's sad that we have to go and research it. And let me play a little bit of this.
And I think getting a lot lower. It's going to be a lot of money, and that will, the external will take care of the internal to a large extent. So I think it's going to be a beautiful transformation. Linda, you might say a couple of words. You've done so amazing. It's a 50% cut. And more importantly, we want to bring education into the states. We're at the bottom of the pack, but we're the most expensive per pupil. And we want to bring education back to the states where they can teach the students lovingly with their parents and with the boards and everything else. And they'll be every bit as good as these other countries. These individual states will do a phenomenal job. Want to say something?
Yes, sir. And if we think about education, if we don't address the issues in education now and start getting our scores up, what are we going to find our next generation after that? Where are our engineers, our doctors, our lawyers, our scientists, our AI and technical experts going to come from? We will go farther and farther down, and with everything else we're doing within our country, building manufacturing, bringing all of that back, if we don't educate in the best way we can, we will be lost, and those generations will be lost. It is, I think, the cornerstone of our culture and what we need to focus on. And so by having education at the best place where it can be, which is at the states, the local levels, with governors, with best practices and tools, which I hope the Department of Education can help supply for them, we'll do it.
And Linda, as you know, the SBA has taken over her student loans, which is a lot of loans. It's a big job. And Kelly, we appreciate that. You're going to do fantastically well. And Bobby is going to be taking over their various medical aspects and health aspects of the educational process. So, and he's going to do a fantastic job of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just say that I'm very grateful to you and very grateful for the partnership with Doge, with Elon. We've identified extraordinary ways in my department and HHS. The expenditures, the budget of HHS during the Biden administration went up by 38%. The employees went up by 17%, and healthcare went down. We have 40 comms departments. We have 40 procurement departments. We have 40 IT departments, and we have 40 procurement, HR, none of them talking to each other. We are, with Elon's help, eliminating the redundancies. We are streamlining our department. We're going to go back to providing gold standard science. We're going to get the money to the scientists and to the patients rather than to the administrators and to the bureaucrats. And we're going to restore gold standard science, and we're going to make America healthy again.
Thank you very much. It's great. If you might, Madam Secretary, say a little bit about what's happening and how well we've done at the border.
Sir, this last week I was in Arizona, California, Alaska, and Florida, and CBP literally has almost 100% operational control of the border, which means that our country is secure and that we know who's coming into this country and that they love our country and they want to help keep it great into the future. We are, in the month of March, the last couple of weeks, increased our deportations by 50%. So we're now not even just getting the worst of the worst out. We're making sure that there's consequences for being here and committing crimes in our communities. And the numbers are continuing to escalate and to go up. Sir, this week I'm headed down to El Salvador. I'll be in the prison where we sent TDA members. I'll be meeting with the president and also Colombia and Mexico and talking about building these relationships so that we can continue to get people out of this country that don't belong here and take them home. And also you had talked to me about sending the message worldwide about the fact that people shouldn't be coming to this country and they shouldn't be coming here illegally. So we are in several other countries around the world with a message right now that's saying, if you are thinking about coming to America illegally and coming here, don't do it. You are not welcome. We have a legal process to becoming a United States citizen, and there are consequences if you come here illegally, and America has changed because we're putting Americans first. So we've also, the Coast Guard has done phenomenal work. I don't know if you all have reported on it, but we have broken historic records in the amount of drug interdictions that they have brought in. We've repositioned the fleet to go after the fentanyl crisis and to go after the southern border and securing it. And they've done amazing work as far as that. We were down in Florida. They brought in $500 million worth of cocaine that they had done in 14 interdictions and had brought them in, going right directly after the cartels, and doing great work there. And we have a cutter that we have sped up the process, surf, the icebreaker, that'll be hitting the waters here this summer. And we've got 2 more that will be coming. But, you know, Russia is using their cutters and icebreakers up in the Arctic to do surveillance on us. And we're going to reposition our fleet to continue to partner. I want to thank the Secretary of Defense and the Navy for all of their help and partnership too. We do operations together because their obvious Navy warships are in certain regions, but our cutters are faster and can work together in a partnership that's securing America. So, and we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but it's all good, and we're working hard, and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised.
That's great. Great job. Yesterday, there was a plaza that you know well. There'd be hundreds of thousands of people standing at that plaza, pouring into our country, totally unchecked. Many people from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members, and horrible. And they just pour into our country. Yesterday, I was speaking to somebody, I was checking on the border, and they said there was literally nobody in this massive plaza. You know, we're talking a plaza that would hold hundreds of thousands of people. There was literally nobody there. There was one person sweeping it, but there were no people. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing transformation very quickly. And we're getting the bad ones out first, and we're taking them out. And there's some really bad ones, murderers of more than one people, at least 50% murdered more than one person. This is the people that we're letting in through their open border policy. It was terrible, but I want to just congratulate you and Tom Holman on the job you've done.
Boston this weekend, hundreds of dangerous criminals were removed, 4 killers taken out of the country just by what they did in Boston this last few days.
Yeah, and these are killers that there's no reasoning. It's not like, oh, let's talk them out of it. These are stone cold killers. They don't care. They don't even think about it. They kill somebody. They go to sleep. They wake up. They don't even remember they killed them. These are bad people that should have never been allowed into our country. Pam is doing such a fantastic job. I thought maybe you could say a few words.
Thank you, President. As far as we are hearing a lot about fraud, waste, and abuse, a lot of waste and abuse, but there is a tremendous amount of fraud. And Elon, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your team. You have uncovered so much fraud in our government, and we will prosecute you. We have an internal task force now working with every agency sitting here at this table. And if you've committed fraud, we're coming after you. Thank you, Elon, for that. On the violent crime level, thanks to President Trump's directive, we are seeking the death penalty again. So all of these horrible, violent criminals that you're hearing about around the country, they will face the death penalty federally within our country. And the drug dealers need to get out of here because we are coming after you. We're going to have 94 great U.S. attorneys around this country, and everyone will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Thank you.
That's great.
It's at your directive.
I couldn't have said that better.
You said it pretty well there.
That's very good.
Well, I think that is probably about all I have here to cover today, except I do have one little thing coming up with my good friend Crip Rick, because he is about to make a big splash here, and I'm so excited to see this. And I believe this is the correct place. Amherst Island Radio. This is going to be fun. He's looking forward to it. Island Radio 101.3 FM. You're going to find him here in the schedule here. This is going to be great stuff. You're going to be able to listen live TuneIn Radio. And let me just make sure that I can put this in the chat here. It's going to be good stuff. It's going to be a lot of interesting topics. Some people will like, some people may not 100% agree with, but it's going to be really good stuff. CJAI.ca. And I believe that is the right one. So it's going to be good stuff. And that is where you're going to find Crip Rick, I believe, every Saturday night. So I was looking at the schedule. He's not on the schedule yet, but he's going to be there starting April 4th or April 5th. To look that up. Oh, April 5th. Right around the corner. Hope you're ready, my friend. Grand new journey, a great new beginning. Elon and Trump better be careful. They are going to upset a lot of powerful people. Yeah, they've already done that. But don't forget, Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. So I think he'll be all right. I think he will be okay. Amherst Island Radio. I was listening to this. I don't know if I can play this without getting a strike or anything like that. I don't know how that works. I try to play a little bit just to see if people can get a little idea. I don't know. It's probably music, so it probably won't let me play too much of it. Let's see.
Hey, not to be dramatic, but you should smell this.
Okay.
Smells so good.
Whoa, that's quite the reaction to mixing and matching Gain scents. Let's hear another from Ashley, who mixed Gain products and went,
I'm so excited.
yes, you are. What about you, Isaiah?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and Emily summed it up like so.
It is just chef's kiss.
Content will structure.
Couldn't
Okay.
have said it better myself.
I was wondering
Mix,
what we're listening
match,
to. This
we're
is an
happy
ad.
with Gain.
With the American Express Gold Card, I can earn 4 times membership rewards points at U.S. supermarkets. So with all these groceries, I'm also getting points. Learn more at americanexpress.com/US/explore-gold. Terms and points cap apply.
Amherst Island Radio. Browser no longer supports station. Oh, come on. All right. I'm going to make that happen eventually. All right. Well, then I'll just go back to here. So if you can learn a little bit more, but you can find the schedule, the show archives, you can donate. All of that is right there. It's a beautiful little ferry they got going on there too. But yeah, so it looks like April 5th, Crip Rick will begin his journey into this radio station. He's already visited the radio station, and it looks like a nice, beautiful place. He will be on the schedule here. I don't believe he's there yet, but he is going to be a part of the schedule. You'll find him here on Saturday. And I love this, that you can actually go to any of these things and click on it. Like Dave's Drive, I'll just click on that, right? Boom. There we are. We can see everything there. So pretty cool. I like it. And if you look on the left-hand side here, you're going to see all of the different shows. Let's see what happens. Local underground. There's a lot of music here too, but it does have just a lot of the different shows, the different sponsors. But that is where Rick is going to be premiering here shortly, coming up. This bingo thing, charity radio bingo, that looks pretty interesting too. If you just look at the main homepage here and just kind of scroll down, and you can see what is going on, what type of local things. They have a lot of sponsors there too. So really good stuff. Hope people will check that out. Crip Rick will be there live coming up very, very soon. So I'm looking forward to it. Listen live direct and then listen live in TuneIn Radio. So they give you a few ways that you can listen in, which is nice. It's always nice to be able
those
to just
connections.
kind of
And I have to say, in doing the John McCrae and doing the Highway of Heroes, the commitment that I
there's some
met
live radio right there.
in service personnel was tangible. They were a remarkable bunch.
I drive that often. I have never seen that. I do stop at the en routes. I'm usually hitting a drive-through, so I'm going to make it a point.
Yeah, they're right there in the garden, and they're 7 feet tall. But really,
I know. I can tell
forgiven.
it towers over both of the you and the individual in that picture. It's remarkable.
Go back to look at some of the show archives too, because the show archives, Rick, if do you remember what show that you were on? Because you were on a recent show. I wonder if they have that here, that kind of where you guys kind of talk about the show that you were joining. Do you remember what that was here? Does any of these shows strike a bell? I'd be curious to see if there is if the replay is up for whatever show you were on last week. I believe there's a Friday night show, Rockabilly. That's pretty, Wildlife Ontario. That's pretty interesting. May get into that. Yeah, I hope they're ready for you too. I think they will be. We'll see. Only one way to find out. More Cowbell. How can you go wrong with that name? More Cowbell. That's good stuff there. Oh, yeah, and they do have all of the shows right there. You can go and you can listen to and you can download them right there. I like that. So they probably have whatever show you were on last week. I wonder if we could pull that up. If you find the name, if you know the name of that show, whatever you were on, I could probably find it. And then we could play a little bit of that here. But I'm just really excited for you. The Wolf's Den, Scott Jackson, Nightcap. Nightcap sounds pretty interesting. What's Nightcap all about? Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I could go by the date too, and probably find it. But anyways, that is all the things that are coming up here. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off because I am burnt out, my friends. It has been a long week and it is only Tuesday. But baseball season starting soon on Thursday. No baseball tomorrow. None at all. But it is starting on Thursday just in time because I have just finished the major super rough version of my book, Kennedy and Trump. Moving on to 2 other books. Possibly 3, but at least 2. So we will see what happens there. Revisiting the Philip Marshall case, that has been a lot of fun and very frustrating at the same time. Brought back some memories with my friend Walter Bradley, who recently passed away last year, and got Steven Sanzeri, Dan Hennon, talking to them both. And of course, Catherine Michaud will be editing this new book. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off there. Crip Rick, thank you, my brother. Always nice chatting with you. I'll be talking to you very soon. And I'll have something, hopefully a few things for you here very soon. Now that I finally figured out this the most frustrating process of the book. The process is not writing the book. That's the easiest part compared to formatting it, uploading it to this place. And it was just a nightmare, but it's done for now. And until I get the physical, I'm going to get the physical copy in my hands. I'm going to read it, and I'm sure I'm going to find edits. I'm sure I'm going to find formatting issues, and then it's all going to start over again. But